Good morning, friends. Prepared Suburbanite back at you. As part of my daily routine, I spend the time I have my first cup of coffee, usually just clicking around, looking at news headlines. And what I saw today was absolutely the most frightening news headline I have ever seen. Stick around and we'll get into some detail on that one. So the headline reads, Harris says she's ready to step into the role of president if Biden is unwell. May have to take over. That is got to be the most frightening eventuality that I could possibly imagine. Joe Biden, as we all suspect, may be having some cognitive issues, may be having some balance issues, some stuff that happens when you get to be over 80 years old, where you just lose sight of what you're doing and what you're saying. I know it's already happening to me, and I'm not even that old yet. But the frightening thing about that is if Biden is unwell, well, all he needs is one more fall. Falling up the stairs, down the steps, tripping over sandbags, you name it. He's trying to figure out which way to go to get off the stage, and he's gonna end up hurting himself. And then it's not going to take all that much to invoke maybe the 25th Amendment to have him removed from office, which is very possible. If something terrible does happen to his health and his cognitive abilities beyond what we're already seeing. But that means that Kamala Harris is only a heartbeat away from being the President of the United States. And we've got 14 months between now and the next presidential election. And that's enough time for her to mount a campaign. It's enough time for her to establish herself as the next president of the United States of America. And I find it deeply troubling. So along with that same thought, I'm a little concerned about what the impeachment proceedings, investigations, hearings, whatever they're going to do in the House. I'm a little concerned about what the outcome may be. Yeah, Joe Biden is probably the worst president I have ever seen, ever heard of. The things that he's doing are absolutely ruining our country, undermining the faith of this great country of ours. Speaking of amendments, right now the issue floating around in lots of headlines and lots of opinion pieces and on podcasts everywhere you turn is what's going to happen with the 14th Amendment. And will states try to keep President Trump off the upcoming ballot because of what it says in the 14th Amendment? So let me read the important part of the 14th Amendment. It's Section 3, and it says, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of the president or vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States shall be engaged in insurrection or rebellion against same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Okay, so the key word there is shall have engaged. And what the left is, I think, trying to push for here, and I can't get in their heads, but what they're really trying to push for here, I believe, is the simple wording of what's in the Constitution. Shall have engaged. That doesn't mean convicted, doesn't mean charged, doesn't mean found guilty. It just means just exactly what it says, shall be engaged. And I think all they have to do to prove this in their minds is to show a picture of him standing out in front of the Capitol building on January 6th, telling folks whatever he told them. And that's enough to say he was engaged. Yep, engaged in an insurrection. Whether it's going to pass muster by the time it goes through all the judicial steps and all the way to the Supreme Court, it's possible. Not likely, but possible. So I'm a little concerned about what's going to happen with the 14th Amendment. It's only going to take a few states. This one here, that one there, California, New York, Maryland, Arizona, Georgia, New Hampshire, I guess, is one that's being contemplated right now. It's going to take all kinds of individual lawsuits to get this thing to raise up to get a final determination by the Supreme Court on whether the 14th Amendment applies in Donald Trump's circumstance. We are truly sailing in uncharted waters right now. Donald Trump is the leading GOP candidate for the GOP ticket for the president, and his lead is, at this point in time, nearly insurmountable. After having faced at least 4 separate legal indictments and somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 or 91 felony-type charges that could potentially lead to over 700 years in prison if found guilty on all those and get the maximum sentence. That's pretty crazy, but he's doing very well because I think the public sees through, at least the GOP public, sees through the charade that the leftists are putting together here with this. But I remain concerned that it's only going to take one conviction of something that's somewhat related to the word engaged in insurrection to force the whole 14th Amendment thing to come to fruition. And that's going to throw us into a constitutional crisis, I believe. If he is barred from being on the ticket in any of the state's races or all of the state's presidential races, that's going to mean that the primary season is going to become kind of a free-for-all, a cage match, I guess. And then no telling what's going to happen on the Democrat side if Joe Biden takes another fall and Kamala Harris is she may have to take over, I guess is the way she put it in that recent headline. I'd like to say that floating in uncharted waters is very, very dangerous. There is no precedent for anything like this. Donald Trump is the first former president to ever have been indicted on any kind of a charge, let alone double parking or crossing against the light or double whatever. This is pretty serious stuff, and they're gunning for him. And I'm not quite sure exactly how this is all going to turn out, but I am deeply, deeply concerned about everything that's going to happen. What can we do about it? I think we all need to be prepared. We need to be prepared for whatever's going to happen. See, I think the Biden folks are looking at what's going on in the Republican primary nonsense. So much infighting and backbiting going on, and finger pointing and accusing, and folks going up and down in the polls, all except for Donald Trump. That I think they've convinced themselves that they're going to need something, and whether that something is a new mandate for one thing or another, a new series of lockdowns, masking could be on the horizon, could be any kind of a military conflict that could arise, whether it's in Ukraine or whether it's in Taiwan or Mexico or wherever the situation may present itself. I would think that right now the Democrats are really looking at what we can do, what they can do to make hay while that sunshine shines on them. And they will do whatever they need to do to make sure that they have some excuse to expand mail-in voting, expand ballot harvesting, reduce any kind of election integrity that's out there. All they have to do is just file some sort of an emergency declaration, and we could be in the midst of martial law. And I suppose anything's possible were that to happen, that elections could be just called off or postponed. Could be that some executive order that says that Donald Trump cannot be the next president, or some executive order that pulls his Secret Service protection detail out from underneath him. And how long is that going to take to run through the different courts that needs to be run through in order for it to get to the highest court in the land so that they can make the final determination on whatever is going on. But rest assured, these Democrats are up to no good right now, and this upcoming election will be something that we need to be prepared for. And I'm talking food, water, shelter, you name it, a means of property defense, a means of self-defense. You've got to take it upon yourself, because nobody's going to be there to help you. That you've got to do it, you've got to invest in it, you've got to go buy the things that you need to buy to make sure that you're going to be able to survive the upcoming nonsense that I see is coming. This is the Prepared Suburbanite with worried thoughts, and I'll see you all on the next video.